Okay, thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you. We now have some special guests who are going to join us on this stage, and I'd like you all to welcome them. I'd like you to welcome Peter Ward, President of the New York Hotel Trades Council. Rebecca Cornick. We have Rebecca Cornick, a wage worker at Wendy's, and our special guest today. Okay? We have with us Mr. Jon Bon Jovi. And brothers and sisters, I am honored to introduce to you on stage today the governor of the great state of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Who's gonna work for the working man? For the working man. Get your hands in the dirt. Who's gonna work for the curse? Brother, I'll be damned if I don't raise a hand. Who's gonna work for the working man? Working man. Empty pockets full of work.
Brothers and sisters, I want to start this end of the program. Excuse me. Brothers and sisters, I want to start this part of the program by saying thank you to Governor Cuomo. I want to thank him because he has taken action. And brothers and sisters, in Albany and across the globe, actions speak louder than words. And Governor Cuomo has addressed this concern in fast food industry by calling for the wage board. And brothers and sisters, we all join in this fight together, and we talk about it a lot, and it's great that we're all on the same page. But at the end of the day, words don't really get us too far. They don't put food on the table for minimum wage workers or help them to put clothing on the backs of their children or pay the rent every month. But you need action. And the way that you get action is through leadership. Governor Cuomo, thank you for your leadership on this issue. Let's hear it for Governor Cuomo. And remember, brothers and sisters, no matter who we are here today, whether you're the guests up on this stage or everyone out here in this audience, or if you're a minimum wage worker, remember that all working men and women have and share a common bond. Whether you're Governor Cuomo or Mr. Bon Jovi or any of the guests here on this dais, we all share a bond that says no matter who you are or where you're from, no matter your job title or the sector you work in, regardless of the religion you practice or the color of your skin, it's a bond that says we all share the same needs and the same concerns and the same wants, and we share the same values and the same principles and the same ideals. And those principles and ideals are basically this. We all want to be able to get up to go to work every morning to support ourselves and our families. We all want to be part of the economic engine that runs this city and runs this state and runs this country. And we all want to be productive members of society. That's what we want. And we know that minimum wage workers today cannot achieve those goals because even when they're working full-time 40 hours a week, many of them still have to apply for public assistance. But this bond is even more than that. This bond is about not only today, but tomorrow. I'll give you my own quick example. My wife and I have 3 daughters. My girls are 12 and 10 and 5 years old. And at the end of the day, when I get home and I see them at night, all I want to do is I want to nurture them, I want to protect them, and I want them to have a better life than me. If you're a parent, that's what you want for your child. If you're not a parent, that's what your parents wanted for you. Because that's the American dream. The American dream isn't about owning a new car or buying a new house. Those are residual effects of the American dream. The American dream in this country is you want the next generation to do a little bit better than the generation before it. You want the next generation to be a little bit more financially secure than the generation before it. And you want the next generation to have a brighter future than the generation before it. And the fact is this, that the children and the families in the future, the children of minimum wage earners, brothers and sisters should have the same opportunity to achieve the American dream that my little girls do. So brothers and sisters, remember, we are all in this fight together for as long as it takes to have fairness in wages in this state, and we are the catalyst for the rest of the country. So I'm going to ask you one more time, are we going to stand together? Yeah. Are we going to join together? Yeah. Are we going to fight together? Yeah. Are we going to raise our voices together? Yeah. Okay. Brothers and sisters, I have the honor and privilege to introduce to you someone who I have really relied on quite a bit these last 3.5 years that I've had this job, who's a great leader in his own right, but that term great leader gets overplayed a lot. He's an inspirational leader, he's innovative, and he sets a tone not only for his union, but sets a standard for the rest of this city, the rest of this state, and the rest of this country when it comes to labor leadership. Brothers and sisters, I am proud to introduce to you our host this afternoon, Brother Peter Ward.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Thank you for standing with us, for standing with the governor in our fight to uplift minimum wage workers in the fast food industry. I want to take a minute to talk about minimum wage workers. A couple of years ago, a casino opened out in Queens called Resorts World. When they opened, 50,000 people showed up for 1,500 jobs. The line stretched for blocks, and the jobs paid $8.50 an hour with no possibility of health care, with no benefits, nothing. They picked the cream of the crop for those 50,000 people. They put them to work, and they brutally exploited them, while that casino became the highest grossing casino in the United States of America. Over $1 billion in revenue in their first year. The union was able to organize those workers in large measure, and thankfully to our good governor for helping us pass legislation that required a labor peace provision in order for the casino to open up. One of the important ingredients in that labor peace provision was a provision for arbitration for the first contract. And so after the workers signed up for the union, hoping for a better day, and we began to negotiate a contract, this is what we were told at the bargaining table. We're paying people $8.50 an hour. 50,000 of them showed up for the jobs. The marketplace has spoken. We don't have to pay people more than that because we could easily replace every single person here tomorrow if we had to. Thankfully, because we had a process that brought us to a good place, we had an arbitration. And in the preparation for this arbitration, we had to hire economists and experts on the gaming industry, and we had to put on witnesses, and some of those witnesses were employees from that casino. One of them was a woman whose name I won't mention, whose story was so moving that it brought people to tears when it was told in the hearing. She talked about what it was like to work 40 hours a week and live in a homeless shelter. What it was like to work 40 hours a week and live in a homeless shelter and raise 2 children. What it was like to have to go home to that homeless shelter every night and take one set of each of her children's clothes into the bathroom and wash them in the sink. Because they only had 2 sets of clothes, she had to wash one every single night. She told what it was like to live in this horrible environment, what it was like not to have hope, not to have a clear vision of a pathway out. She talked about the fear of having to raise children in this environment. She talked about the struggle of commuting back and forth to work all the way from the Bronx in order to get to Queens, over an hour-and-a-half commute each way. She talked about the hardships and the fear of raising children in that environment and not knowing what their future was going to be like. how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers live in that fear, live in that condition right now, every single day? How many? And it's time to stop, isn't it? Yeah. It's time for people who work 40 hours a week to get a fair day's pay. Am I right? Yeah. Nobody that works 40 hours a week should live in a homeless shelter. Am I right? Everybody that works 40 hours a week, that works hard to support their family, is entitled to dignity, to respect, and to a living wage. Isn't that right? Yes. Brothers and sisters, our governor has truly been a wage warrior. He's been a voice that has spoken about this repeatedly. Besides his help in Genting, which, by the way, ended in a contract where workers went to $20 an hour year one with health care and pensions, and by year 4 to $30 an hour. I was there when we introduced the contract to the workers, and I saw on their face what this life-altering event meant to them. I spoke to them. I still get choked up when I think about it. It was one of the most amazing events that I've ever gone through in my entire life. And those 1,500 workers have hope. They have a pathway into the middle class. They have dignity and respect. And they have that not only because of the union, but they have that because of good government and because of a great governor. The governor impaneled a tipped worker wage board, a hospitality wage board, which just recently raised the wages of tipped employees across New York State. Over 500,000 people got a raise because of that. The governor has just seen to it that airport workers who work in food service and work in cleaning are also going to get a raise. The governor made sure that home health care workers got a raise. And the governor has just impaneled another wage board to examine the conditions of employees that work in the fast food industry, because he knows, like I know, and he knows, like you know, that we all do better when we all do better. And that it's time for everybody to have a living wage. And that if we can't get it done in the state legislature, we have to use whatever we can to get it done. And this wage board is an effective weapon that the governor is going to use to help us get to the right place. And I applaud him for it, and I hope you do too. So, brothers and sisters, this is so important. And those of you here that are in unions, and those of you here that understand what it means to have a contract and a living wage and health care and pensions and dignity on the job and respect on the job, those of you who know that also know that when we have millions of workers working at the margins, that puts pressure on the bubble that we've created. That for us to continue to do good, we have to support those that are not doing as good as us. Am I right? Yeah. Are you committed to that? Yeah. Okay, so I want to bring up a fast food worker. I want to introduce her to you. Her name is Rebecca Cornish. Rebecca?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rebecca Cornick, and I want to thank all of you for joining me in the fight for fair pay. I live in Brooklyn, and for the past 5 years, I've worked at Wendy's, where I'm paid $9 an hour. Because I'm paid so little, I'm unable to pay my rent, even when I'm able to reach that 40 hours. It's not just my needs that are on the line. I support my granddaughter, who is unable to work on a regular basis because of her health. I only make $9 an hour, and my family struggles with poverty every day. I barely make enough to put food on my table. And there are times when I cannot buy my granddaughter and other relatives, I have 5 grandchildren, anything, clothes. The shelter problem is abominable. So no matter how much they need them, the things that are essential to our lives, I'm unable to provide everything. My job at 40 hours a week pays only 2/3 of my rent. This is not the American dream that I grew up believing in. So it's time that we make a change. It's time we raise the minimum wage. If the Governor's Wage Board was to increase the minimum wage, it would lift the weight of the world off my shoulders. I wouldn't be worrying about what my family will have to eat for dinner tomorrow or how I'm going to be able to afford my apartment within the next month. Increasing minimum wage would mean that I would live a more normal life. And who knows, I may be able to go see my mother who's living alone in a rural area in North Carolina alone because she lost her husband. Together, I believe we can win this fight for fair pay. The Governor's Wage Board is proof that we're getting closer to the increase in the fast food workers. We deserve this. We work hard every day. We jump to their commands every day. And it's time for us to have a voice. Yes, thank you. Now I'm happy to introduce someone who knows what it means to stand up for those in need. He's someone who believes in giving back to others and leading by example. He has made a career out of rock and roll, and he's also launched a nonprofit foundation that is focused on helping those who struggle with poverty and homelessness. And that's going to build a brighter future, and they can do that through this organization and this foundation that he's invented. So I'm sure you've heard of him. So let's join each other and let's give him praise and a good welcoming. I just want to keep you in suspense. His name is Jon Bon Jovi.
Who's gonna work for the working man? Work for the working man. Get your hands in the dirt. Who's gonna work on the curse? Brother, I'll be damned if I don't raise a hand. Who's gonna work for the
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. That was very moving and touching, and I'm happy to be here. I'm proud to be here today. I'm here quite simply in support of the trades and in your efforts to have minimum wage go to at least $15 an hour. Raising wages is about fairness. It's about giving more hardworking New Yorkers more than a shot at making ends meet. The economy has come back for some, but not for all Americans. This issue is about paying people a living wage while addressing the real cost of living. In 2009, in the midst of the economic downturn, we wrote a song called Work for the Working Man to give voice to those struggling American workers. And it's no coincidence that Governor Cuomo plays our song at many of his events, and it was in fact his theme song for both campaigns as governor. It's because our governor is a man who I believe works for the working man in everything that he does. Governor Cuomo is making sure that New York is leading the nation in the fight for fair pay and to provide better opportunity for all. So will you please help me in welcoming my friend and our governor, Mr. Cuomo.
Gonna work for the working man. Work for the working man. Get your hands in the dirt. Who's gonna work on the curse? Brother, I'll be damned if I don't raise a hand. Who's gonna work?
Thank you. First, thank you. Okay. Thank you. First, to hear Rebecca Cornick come up and give us a real-life version of what this is all about We thank her for her work. We thank her for her courage. Rebecca Cornick, let's give her a round of applause. To our host today, Peter Ward, who is a really great labor leader. He's effective, he's a friend. Let's give HDC award. To the head of the AFL-CIO, Mario Salento, let's give him a round of applause. And to all the labor leaders, what's been happening recently, and it is so beautiful to see, is labor is coming together in New York. And in unity, there is strength. And when that union movement comes together and shows solidarity, there is nothing that they can't do. And that's the group you see before you on that podium. And let's give them a round of applause and thank them for their unity. And to Jon Bon Jovi. Jon Bon Jovi is a great talent. He's a great musician. And we all envy his talent, but he also never forgot where he came from. He never forgot who he is. He's always giving back. He's always working to help people who have less. Let's give him a round of applause. And John did a song, Who's Going to Work for the Working Man, that I heard when I was running for governor. And it speaks just to this theme. It speaks to the point of a person who grew up as a working person without the skills to do a higher tech job, without the education to do a higher tech job, but willing to work hard, and feeling that he and she have lost their place in this society. And that the hope and the opportunity is gone for them. And the point of the song is, who's speaking for them? Who's helping them? And this is not a New York issue. John sells too many songs to do it just in New York. John sells them all across the world. But this is an issue all across this nation, where there's a whole group of people who feel like they have no voice, they have no place, they have no hope. And they are a permanent underclass, and the whole concept of moving up is gone. Now, people call it income inequality. I don't use those words, income inequality. Why? Because we never said we were all going to have equal incomes. It's not about income inequality, and it's not about disliking rich people. I want my daughters to grow up to be millionaires. And I want them to take care of me. I want to retire tomorrow. And I'm banking on my daughters making a lot of money. So God bless them if they become millionaires. That's not what it is. What it is this nation said fairness for all, opportunity for all, mobility for all. And that's the hope and that's the dream that makes this country work. And when you lose that ability to believe that your kids are going to do better and that you can do better, when you believe you're stuck in place and you're only going down, then it doesn't work for you. Then the whole promise was a scam. Now, how do you get ahead? An education system that works for everyone. A public education system that works for everyone. Higher education system that works for everyone. Then you have to have the jobs available, and the jobs have to be created by the state. And then the jobs have to pay a fair wage so you can live a decent life. And that's what the minimum wage is all about. And that's what this battle is all about. The minimum wage started by FDR. FDR said this when he was talking about passing the minimum wage. FDR said, "It is a living wage, and by that I mean more than just subsistence. I mean wages so you can have a decent life. That's what it was supposed to be about, a decent life. Not you're earning the minimum wage and you're living in a homeless shelter. Not you're earning the minimum wage and you're washing your kids' clothes in the sink. Not you're earning the minimum wage and you can't afford a decent education for your child. That's not a minimum wage. That's not the promise, and that's not the opportunity that this nation is all about. We want to raise the minimum wage. And it's not a question of ideology. It's that on the numbers, the minimum wage doesn't work. You know what you earn in New York if you earn the minimum wage? About $18,000 per year. That's what you make, $18,000 per year. You know how much the average cost of housing is? $11,000. Average cost for food, $9,000. Average cost for clothing, $6,000. Average expenses, $5,000. The numbers don't even add up. It's not possible to live decently on minimum wage. Now, we're starting with one of the most egregious areas, and that is fast food workers. One of the largest areas of minimum wage workers are the fast food workers. They are primary wage earners for their family, which means these are not second jobs. These are people who are supporting a family, and they're getting paid minimum wage. Exactly what you heard from Rebecca. Now, you want to hear what makes the situation even worse? They work for McDonald's. They work for Burger King. They pay them the minimum wage. Then the individuals come to government because the minimum wage, they're still below poverty. So they still qualify for public assistance and food stamps. So they work full-time at Burger King, McDonald's, they earn a minimum wage, they still get public assistance, they still get food stamps. The federal government pays $7 billion a year to McDonald's workers and Burger King workers. This state pays $700 million every year to subsidize Burger King and McDonald's made $4.67 billion last year. Why are we subsidizing their employees? Let them pay a wage so their workers can eat and pay housing and live a decent wage. And my friends, it is that simple. It is that simple. We want a wage that is right and that is fair. And what is currently going on is a fraud. And the corporations are getting away with murder. They are extorting their employees. They're paying them a wage that they can't live on. They're then turning to government and the taxpayer to subsidize their jobs so they can make a bigger corporate profit. That's what is repugnant to the American system and the American dream. And it's fast food workers, it's tipped workers, it's a prevailing wage. Pay people what they deserve. That's what we're going to do in New York. That is our fight. That is our banner. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about in this state. And we're going to get it done in this state. And you know the nice thing about getting it done in New York? When you get it done in New York, it's not just New York. It resonates all across the country. All across the country. All across the country. We passed marriage equality. We stopped discriminating against gay people. And you know what? It resonated all across the country. We passed a law saying stop the insanity with guns and let's have sensible gun control. And it resonated all across the country. We stood up for the environment, and it resonated all across the country. And this message is going to resonate all across the country. Remember what this country's all about. Restore worker fairness and decency and opportunity and pay people a decent wage so they can live a decent life. and educate their children and give hope and opportunity and mobility and make people proud to be Americans again and inspired to go to work. And let's restore the trust and the hope that made this state and this nation as great as they are. And it's the American worker that did it. And it's the American worker that'll do it again. Thank you and God bless you.